So Microsoft finally got their way. They were able to beat the FTC and buy out Activision Blizzard. Now, obviously, a lot of people are celebrating this as a big win for video games and the consumer side of the video games industry, and for the most part, I think I would agree. But I still kind of can't help but feel bad for Microsoft. Phil Spencer was right when he said that just having a bunch of good games isn't enough to turn things around for them in the current generation of consoles. They're not all of a sudden going to have the power to bring people away from the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch to purchase Xbox consoles and turn things around for themselves. At least not immediately, anyway. But it's not completely over for them. They just need to understand a few things. The first of which is that they're essentially losing things on all fronts. And what I mean by that is there are various reasons that people go to different consoles for different genres of games. Sony has Final Fantasy locked down, pinned. That's theirs. Final Fantasy games are going to come out on PlayStation. They have been for years, and they will continue to do so. Nintendo has a lot of the old classics: Mario, Kirby, Fire Emblem, Metroid. So stuff like platformers and your more nostalgic games are going to always be there. You're not going to have a Mario game on Xbox unless it's that weird Rabbids crossover thing, which I'm sure is fun. It actually did look pretty fun, and people said that it was good. But that just means that when it comes to the various genres of gaming, Xbox doesn't really have anything to stand on. At one point in time, they had the first-person shooter market cornered with Halo, and kind of shooters in general with Gears of War to a lesser extent, but I mean, let's face it, Halo Infinite came out and let down pretty much everybody. Gears of War is so unbelievably played out, I associate it with Assassin's Creed. So, they have a lot of things to work through. Having control over Activision Blizzard means more or less control over Call of Duty, and that's decent. But I don't think that alone is going to be enough to really help them. Even if Call of Duties were to stop coming out on PlayStation or to come out later or whatever. What Microsoft really needs to do is up the ante on other genres that they've been slacking on for many, many years, in several console generations. They need to have not just a killer shooter, they need to have a killer RPG. They need to have a killer JRPG. They need to have some killer platformers. They need to have some standout character action games. They need to have a fighting game. And they need to have sports games. All of these things have been kind of fluctuating over time. I mean, at one point in time, Microsoft did have Killer Instinct, and that game is phenomenal. But sports games have had a real drastic dip in quality over the years. And fighting games as a genre are only just now starting to come back after people started to realize that, yes, having good online connectivity is paramount to the long-term success of a fighting game. But Microsoft already knows that because Killer Instinct had good netcode. But that's what it's going to take to even start to bring things around. They don't just need one or two games that are really, really good. They need to have all of their genres covered, and they need to keep them that way. That's how you start. I don't know if that's going to happen in the lifespan of the Xbox Series S? X? I don't know. Another high priority thing that they need to work on is their system clarity. If a child asks their parents for the new PlayStation, that's just a PlayStation with a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With the exceptions being portable and Vita. It's very simple. What's the biggest number of PlayStation out? 5? Okay, that's the newest one. The Nintendos had the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, Nintendo DS, 3DS, and now there's the Nintendo Wii, Wii U, and Switch. It's not the most clear, but it's significantly more clear than trying to determine the difference between the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. I don't know the difference, and I don't really care. I shouldn't have to decipher that sort of thing. Honestly, I think that the whole Xbox as a naming for their console is ridiculous, and that they need to get something. I wouldn't say that they need a station, but they need something that they could just put a number on the end of moving forward, so nobody gets confused as to what the newest Microsoft toy is. That's gonna help them out a lot. But what do you think about it? I know that the Xbox Game Pass it's popular and it's consumer friendly, but it's bleeding them money. Having all of these games be available on a subscription service is great for consumers, but business-wise, it's going to have to hurt someone, and it's either going to be Microsoft or the developers of whatever game is on that pass. Not to mention, gamers are starting to really care about the things that they do and don't have ownership over. People are still kind of feeling unease when it comes to digital libraries because there's nothing for them to own, and if the service goes under or disappears, they no longer have access to a vast majority of the games that they've acquired over whatever amount of time. So when you add a digital library that's tied to a subscription service that you can't use if you don't pay the subscription, even if it's cheap, I'd rather just buy it. I'd rather at least have a digital copy. And again, that's not the best solution, but we're trying to find things that are better, not worse. So the Xbox Game Pass is one of those things that I'm not really sure if it's going to end up helping or hurting Xbox in the long run. I don't foresee it being particularly good because there's a lot of things wrong with the subscription service model. And you can kind of see it in stuff like HBO Max and Netflix and the other 10 billion streaming platforms that exist out there. But that's just my thoughts on it. I'm glad that Xbox has Activision Blizzard because at the very least, I'm pretty confident that they'll clean up Blizzard's terrible scandals and harassment claims that they've had in the past. I don't think Xbox is going to let that sort of thing continue to slide. But as far as what that means for games from that publisher going forward, I don't really know. I don't think it's nearly as big a deal as people think it is. I just think that it's a very desperate ploy to get Microsoft and Xbox as a brand some sort of attention. And they definitely need it. But let's talk about that down in the comments below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.